Welcome to Beyond the Screen Student Connect. I'm your host, Versus. Today, we are not in any university or college. We are just somewhere in the compounds of Lusaka, Mtendere to be specific. Education has long been seen as a pathway to opportunities. But students today are asking a difficult question. Is it still affordable? Can students afford higher education? Well, let's find out from a student who is navigating this reality. This is Beyond the Screen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with
Samuel Kahale.
Samuel Kahale. We are pleased to have you here.
The delight is mine.
Thank you very much. So, what are you studying?
I'm doing a bachelor's degree in banking and finance.
Which year?
This is my first year.
Which institution?
I'm currently at the only university abroad,
Wow.
Mulongoshi University.
Wow. So, Mr. Samuel Kahale is doing a bachelor's of banking and finance at the only university abroad, Mulungushi University. So, he's going to help us with the question: can students still afford higher education? Let's hear from him.
Yeah, students can still afford higher education depending on their financial background. But looking at the state that we're in currently, let me just give an example of our country, Zambia. Many homes cannot afford to pay the fees that are required for their children to go to school. And as a result, you discover that as the fees of these institutions tend to rise, the household income that the parents tend to get is lesser than the rise in the fees for their children's fee, school fees.
Do we have an institution that offers loans?
Apparently, yes, we do have an institution that offers loans. It's called Helsby.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the name that we give it, looking at the fact that saying the entire thing is very lengthy and
but
tend to forget.
but for the sake of others who are watching, maybe you just say the whole thing like.
So the whole thing is higher education, loans and scholarship board. Yes. So what this institution does, it helps people like I, for example, I'm on the same thing. I'm on a 75%
Wow.
student loan.
Wow.
Yeah. So they will help you once you're out of school, looking at your results. They'll pick people based on merit and vulnerability. So they tend to pay for your fees. The parts where you cannot cater, they will pay for you. They pay for your fees. They give you allowances. That's meal allowance, book allowance, and even accommodation allowances. They provide everything so that you can go to school. And as you are done with your studies, you tend to pay back with a very low interest rate, just 10%.
Okay.
But looking at the period, let me say duration of which you study, this 10% tends to seem as if it's a very huge amount. Yes, so that's right.
So you mentioned that you are on 75%. So does the same institution cater for you? Okay, how does 75% work?
So what I can say is this. I got what you wanted to say, even though you didn't say it. The
Okay.
question was supposed to be, does the same 75% cater for your accommodation in meal allowances?
I think we got an intelligent student here.
Thank you for that comment. So the answer is yes. So when Helsby offers you a 75%, they don't necessarily pay all your school fees. No, they pay the highest amount. And for example, I myself, if I round off the figures, I'm only paying a 6,000 per year.
Wow.
So that's very helpful. Looking at where I come from, we cannot fully cater the
How much do you pay per semester?
per semester. Let me just draft it up to a 3,000.
So you have 2 semesters?
Yes, 2 semesters.
So 3,000 plus 6,000
That's a
is
6,000.
So normal when let me give an example. You're not on Helsby. So how much were you supposed to pay? Like
Roughly looking, it's a 23,000 and something there. So let me just say 24,000. That's in a year.
okay.
And looking at where I come from specifically, that's a lot of money. My parents cannot afford that amount. Like that's far lesser than what they get in a year.
Are you guys, lend us your ears. This is very much important. This is very much important. Wow. So out of 24,000, you're only paying a 6,000
Yes.
when you round it off.
Yes.
Oosh, that's nice.
Uh,
Okay. Let's talk about dropout risk.
So looking at the dropout risks, let me say, looking at the rise in fee, the same 75% that I'm on. That's a very huge privilege. I'm not going to lie. I really appreciate that, and it's very fortunate that I was one of those people. But there are those people that have been given, let me say, 50% in the 25%. So with me, who has got a 75%, I'm only required to pay a 6,000 per year, like the entire year, 3,000, 3,000 each semester. Then there are those with the 50%. So the one with the 50% is required to pay about, let me say, close to 12,000 somewhere there.
So half the fees.
So that's half the fees. Then if we do the math, the 25% will get somewhere, let me see, somewhere 15%, 15,000, 16,000 somewhere there. So dropout risks become high given the fact that the students will usually stress over fees. Results are released like hours were last week Friday. And yeah, I'm not going to lie. Paying a very small amount compared to someone who is on 50% and 25%. But looking at the fact that the same 3,000 is an amount that the people we're living with, our financial backgrounds, these people cannot afford. They don't get paid money that is amounting to that. So you discover that we have to do contribution. I, for one, my family had to make certain contributions so that they can cater for the 3,000 that was supposed to pay, and I was able to pay. Now, looking at someone who is supposed to pay, let me say an 11,000, that is in one semester. So you who is supposed to pay an 11,000, you will discover that you stress about paying that fee. They paid for you to enter into the university, and you got in. Comes examination registration. You need to have they have a what is 50%. You're supposed to pay 50% for you to get your exam docket to be registered as one of the people that will write. And most people were actually, let me say, anxious. Others were hoping that as they about to get that docket to write their exam, they should drop the examination writing registration standard to 50% so that they can be able to get that docket and write their exams. And so when a student looks at this, he or she may tend to wonder, how will my family manage to do this? My family only hopes or has one source of income. Others, they are marketeers, and the amount of money that they make, let me say in a month, is less than 2,500, looking at the vegetables that they sell. When it comes to farmers, yes, farmers do make a lot of money. I'm not going to lie. But looking at last year's farming season, they sold their crops somewhere in July, and they were only paid the amounts that they sold their crops for this January. And here's a child, a student to be specific. He or she has fees that they're supposed to pay for. And what happened last year? That was very unfortunate. We don't know what happened, but speaking on my end, that was very unfortunate to students and families that depend on farming to pay for their children's fees. Given the fact that when these fees are displaced off, parents will only get, let me say, a 1,000, the rest goes to a student's school fees. And in a case where these fees are not paid, the anxiety that students tend to have, anxiety, depression, all sorts of emotions, will tend to result into a student saying, let me just drop out. I have nothing to eat here. If you're not accommodated on campus, your landlord is asking for money. We need our money. What will we do? What? So you just decide to leave.
This one
You
is
drop out.
serious. This is a serious issue. Can students still afford higher education? Yes or no? We're trying to find out. So, do you think education is becoming a privilege?
Yeah, I would say so. Looking at the fact that, like you said, the rising fees.
Yeah.
So education is becoming a privilege rather than a right.
Oof. You hear that?
Yes. So it's becoming a privilege rather than a right. We've got rising school fees. We've got accommodation. You need to eat. Apart from eating, you also need books. You need pens, IDs,
Hmm.
ID holders, all those things, etc., etc., etc. Then now here's somebody that comes in. You come from a very financially stable background, a family that can't afford to pay your fees. They can't afford anything, and you try to apply for a loan or a grant at any of these institutions that offer those things, and you're left out. You try 3 times, you try 4 times, and you're left out. So because of that, you knowing that you cannot afford to pay for your fees, um, you tend to look at education as a privilege rather than a right because you cannot pay those fees. And the fact that you cannot pay those fees, you're not automatically going to say, let me just go and start learning. I won't get a degree. You will learn quite alright. But the fact that you don't get that paper and looking at the country that we're in, If I do not recognize that paper, take I who is doing a bachelor's of banking finance. I cannot just go into Indo Bank and say I'm a banker. I have this knowledge. Yes, they'll ask me questions. I'm going to tell them more about the IPOs, all those things. But when they look at my qualifications, they're like, let's see your qualification. I have nothing. They cannot employ me because, yeah, they will employ me, but when, let me say, inspectors come, they check up on my things. I have nothing. So as a result, it's becoming a privilege rather than a right. People need to go to school. Yeah, everyone, starting from first grade, 12th grade, you go into university, you have all those things. But you reach higher education, fees are getting higher and higher and higher. I did come across a certain post last year. Here's someone who got a pending loan of 380,000 kwacha. They have to repay that amount. And now look at someone who cannot get the same loan that the person has and is stressing over repaying it. How will that person go into school? So it's becoming a privilege. But the good thing is that in a case where you get a loan, yeah, you have a certain burden on you, but the loan will help you. You actually exercise your right and privilege at the same time.
Yeah, that's good. You're exercising your right when you get the loan.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, just to draw you back a bit, you said you're on 75%, and the institution uh, pays for you quota of your fees, right?
Yeah.
So, what about accommodation, food, and upkeep? Do they provide, or it's on your own?
Um, Fortunately, yes, they do. So looking at HELSB, the Higher Education Loans and Scholarship Board, um, those guys are really helping us
Okay.
very much. So whether I was in 25%, 50, 75%, or 100%, and they pay your fees, the amount that you're supposed to pay for it, depending on what you got, whether it's 25, 50, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And the good thing about them is this, they do not seclude saying that if you're on 25%, you don't get accommodation
Oh.
allowance. No. A person who is on 25% and someone who is on 100%, the allowances are getting everything equal.
So you guys get paid.
Yeah,
Oh,
we do
my.
get paid.
So these guys are civil servants. These are civil servants, yeah?
Yeah, we're civil servants.
Wow. So these will become my friends. Ikafika kuma 28 paja, 28. Eh?
Whoa, it's not like that. We don't know when we're getting paid.
Oh, oh my God.
Yeah, we don't know, that's the issue.
Okay, so what alternatives do students consider? Students like you, what alternatives do you consider?
Um, Before I joined Mulungushi University, okay, let me just, I applied for Mulungushi University. It was a one attempt, and I got it.
Oh, wow.
I got it. And then after some months, started applying for a student loan. Upon applying, I was like, it depends. If they pick me or not, it depends where I go. They can pick me or they can't pick me. Unfortunately for me, they gave me 75%.
Wow.
But now, where the part where I was like, if they pick me or not, in a case where they didn't pick me, I applied for an alternative
Okay.
under a TVETA program. I was supposed to go for ICT under the CDF thing that they brought up that the
Wow.
government is helping us with. And I applied for that. It was a two-way thing. So in a case where I didn't get into Mulungushi University, I can go for a technical skill, something that will help me. So the government realized that it's not everyone that goes on scholarships. So they bring in alternatives like the same CDF, Constituency Development Fund.
Yeah.
So they pay for your fees. You go and study what you want to study, be it automotive engineering, ICT, you go for catering, anything that you want to do. They're going to help you with that. So that's an alternative that you can go for before you go into school. And upon doing that, that's very helpful as well. You're not going to have a degree like others will, but it's more like a start. Like looking at the current world that we're in, those skills are very essential. You might do something, you do engineering. Before you get a job, before you get a job, yes, you need to have a certain skill, something that is going to back you up. So that even when you get a job, when let me say the human resource managers look at your application, they'll be like, wow, this person did automotive engineering, a diploma or let me say a certificate, they have it. And there's someone who is doing, let me say, software engineering. So they look at that. They look at the skills that you have. What value can this person bring in? So that really helps as a student. So let's not look down on what others are doing because those skills are far better than any degree you've ever be. Because looking at the world we're in, skills matter more than the same degrees. You have no skills and have a degree. chances of you getting a job are, yeah, they're there. They're higher than someone with a skill. But here's the catch: if you have a skill and you have a degree, people get you. They don't expect you to just be sitting there. Assume I'm a banker. I'm just sitting at my teller. I'm just sitting there. I don't know how to use a computer. Will someone say, no, this person is a banker, he has a degree, let's hire them? No, don't do that. So don't look down on the skills that you have. You might not enter into university, they pay for your fees, you have no funds, but if you get a chance to do one of the skills, do them once you have it. Because opportunity comes once. Once you do that skill can pay for your school fees. The things that you really wanted to do, you will do them on your own. Or you can just set up your business.
Wow. Wow. So I think we have to invite Samuel Kahale on the episode. What employers really want, because I've seen many students, they get a degree but they don't get a job. Why? We don't know. Maybe they don't have the skill. Just from explaining. So maybe we have to invite Samuel Kahale again on the episode, what employers really want. And again, I'm connecting. Today, when I was on Instagram, I came across a post saying computer science is for people with brains, people who are intelligent. And now I'm connecting. I think I'm with a data boy here, an intelligent person. Oh, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
You're powerful.
Thank
I
you.
was like, hey, can I speak like that with my English? Otherwise, okay, that's all for our episode today. Can students still afford higher education? That was a question, and hopefully the question has been answered. To me, yes. Why? Yes,
Healthy.
exactly. I
Apart
wanted to
from
say.
healthy, CDF, Keveta, all those, whatever opportunity you get,
Yeah.
grab it.
There are people from villages, deep villages. Someone with a 6 point, he doesn't even know where to start from. All they know is when you are done with high school, is to start working. Now, look at the jobs which are there in my villages. Look at the jobs which are there. So now, someone is trying to send a message to you guys who do not know. You have 6 points, you're sitting on it, waiting to be called. Opportunity doesn't come like that. Wake up. There is higher education loans and scholarship board. Can you can you kindly, how can I say, you help us with how to apply for higher education loans and scholarship board, what you need, and yeah.
So what I can say is this. Looking at the higher education loans and scholarship board, they usually advertise when to apply. And if I look at people that have access to the internet, they will give you a list of everything that you need. But for the sake of those that are in villages, poor network, they don't have a smartphone. So looking at what I went through, fortunately for us, we were not required to go and make a queue at their headquarters. No, we had to do everything online. So when we were doing everything online, all we were required to have was an affidavit,
Okay.
recommendation letter from your previous school. We needed our results, and you write an application of why you want the loan, be it a loan or scholarship, whatever it is that you're applying for. And apart from that, we needed a certified photocopy of your national registration card and that of your parents. Yes. Then you scan everything. You send them online. You create an account with Healthy. That's where you upload all your details. Then upon doing that, everything will be well. You just wait for them to do their thing.
So he mentioned you write an application why you want that loan or scholarship. Is it scholarship
Yeah,
or sponsorship?
loans and scholarship.
Yeah. So higher education loans and scholarship board doesn't only offer loans. It also gives sponsorship. So you win a sponsorship, you don't have to pay back. Okay. So unless we say a loan, yeah,
Yeah,
which they give a 10%
interest rate.
interest rate. So that's it for today. Can students still afford higher education? I'm your host Vessels, and my Guest here is Samuel Kahale from Mulungushi University School of Business Studies. Thank you very much for being part of Beyond the Screen Student Connect.
Thank you for having me.
What we've heard today highlights a critical truth. Access to education does not end at admission. Affordability determines who stays, who struggles, and who eventually gives up. These conversations matter because education shapes not just individual futures, but national development. As students, our voices help bring visibility to challenges that often go unnoticed. This is Beyond the Screen Student Connect. I've been your host, and I'll be your host, Versus.